Good morning, everyone. This is Miss Nadine, and today we are going to review some English skills taught earlier. Let's start with summarizing. As explained earlier, a summary is a brief restatement of the central idea of a text, which is often found in the topic sentence of a paragraph or the thesis statement of an essay. Since a summary is much shorter than the original text, you should omit non-essential details as long as the omission is not a distortion of the meaning and produce a condensed version of a writer's key points. Observe the following key points when you summarize. 1. It is essential that you capture the most important ideas of the original text before you start summarizing. 2. Write the summary in paragraph form in case it is more than one sentence. 3. Once you are done with summarizing, go back to the original text to ensure that the central idea is concisely stated. 4. It is necessary that you use the third-person point of view rather than the first or the second-person point of view. After all, you are summarizing what someone else has said. 5. In principle, a summary should not exceed 25% of the original text, but in practice, this is not always possible. And 6. It is essential that you cite the source to avoid plagiarism and maintain intellectual honesty. As a reader, summarizing develops your skill to distinguish between major and minor details to assimilate the central idea and respond to summary questions correctly. As a writer, summarizing allows you to enrich your composition with key ideas derived from different books, articles, reports, or even blogs without copying. Now let's move on to paraphrasing. As you all know, paraphrasing is restating a text in your own words and style to achieve greater clarity. Indeed, finding new words for ideas already well expressed is challenging, but changing words should not be the chief aim anyway. Focus rather on expressing the ideas you capture and on formulating your own sentence structures. Observe the following key points when you paraphrase. 1. It is essential that you capture the ideas of the original text before you start paraphrasing. 2. Write the paraphrase in paragraph form. 3. Once you are done with paraphrasing, go back to the original text to ensure that the paraphrase is accurate, that is, you have truly expressed the same content. 4. If a pronoun is needed in the paraphrased text, ensure that the referent has already been revealed. 5. It is necessary that you use the third-person point of view rather than the first or the second-person point of view. After all, you are restating what someone else has said. 6. A paraphrase is roughly the same length and even sometimes a bit longer than the original text. And 7. It is essential that you cite the source to avoid plagiarism and maintain intellectual honesty. As a reader, paraphrasing helps you restate various types of discourse to simplify and clarify them. Moreover, it helps you answer comprehension questions without copying from the text. As a writer, paraphrasing empowers you with ideas you come across while carrying out research on a certain topic. Furthermore, it improves your sentence structure and enriches your diction as you have to come up with your own. Making inferences and drawing conclusions. Sometimes a writer does not explicitly express his or her ideas, but he or she gives the readers some clues so that they can figure those ideas out by themselves. Making inferences is a logical guess based on facts in the text and readers' previous knowledge. Smart readers put the facts and their personal experience together to figure out what is going on in a text. After making inferences, a reader can draw conclusions, which are decisions based on facts and inferences. When a reader draws a conclusion, he or she puts together clues or facts from the text and all the inferences he or she has made to reach a decision. As a reader, making inferences and drawing conclusions activate your critical thinking as you would be relating information to real life and prior knowledge. They also help you comprehend implied messages. As a writer, they help you synthesize a creative piece of writing which can trigger readers' analytical thinking and arouse their interest to continue reading to decipher the hidden message between the lines. Now let's move on to figurative language. As explained earlier, literal language means exactly what it says, while figurative language uses similes, metaphors, personification, hyperbole, and understatement, among others, to describe something often through comparison with something different. Most used figures of speech are the following. 1. Simile. A simile is a figurative comparison using like or as. For example, the bells gleamed like a diamond on a dancing girl. In this example, the bells are compared to the diamonds on a dancing girl to describe how much shiny they are whenever they sway. Like is used to make the comparison. 2. Metaphor. A metaphor is a direct comparison of two unlike items sharing a common trait without using like or as. For example, the bells clap produced were diamonds in the sun. In this example, the bells are considered diamonds for they gleam in the sun. 3. Personification. Personification gives the human qualities, feelings, actions, or characteristics to non-humans. For example, thanks to CLAP's eco-friendly project, Mount Everest will wear its clean, elegant dress again. In this example, Mount Everest is compared to a lady wearing a clean dress to show that it is no more polluted with litter. 4. Hyperbole. Hyperbole is an exaggerated statement or claim not meant to be taken literally. For example, climbers have been warned 1,000,000 times not to dump gear up the mountain. In this example, the writer exaggerates the number of times climbers have been warned not to dump gear up the mountain to show the scale of the problem. 5. Understatement. Understatement is the opposite of hyperbole. It is a method of using mild, gentle words to describe something dramatic, violent, or shocking. For example, the earth is too big to be affected negatively by the amount of waste generated. In this example, the writer underestimates the impact of land pollution on Earth by stating that the latter is too enormous to suffer, when in fact, land pollution is taking its toll on Earth. Now let's move on to irony. Irony implies a contradiction between what is expected and what actually occurs, and it is of three types. The first type is verbal irony. Verbal irony occurs when the intended meaning is different from what is said. For example, how responsible and humane the military are. They do nothing about the poisonous materials left behind in their barracks or other than turning a deaf ear to the cries of innocent children. In this example, describing military forces as responsible and humane is opposite to reality, for they irresponsibly disregard the poisonous mess they leave behind. They even respond in cold blood to the plight of innocent children. The second type is situational irony. Situational irony occurs when the outcome of an event or a circumstance is opposite to what is expected. For example, Greenpeace relocated them on a clean island where they could rebuild their lives. Now, the same island, along with many others, is being literally drowned by rising seas. Here, Greenpeace relocated the islanders away from danger zone. Ironically, man-inflicted rise in sea level started drowning the new place. Thus, the supposedly safe haven has turned perilous. And the third type is dramatic irony. Dramatic irony is an occasion in a play, a film, or a novel in which a character is unaware of something the audience is aware of. For instance, situational irony is manifested when a viewer is aware that flash floods will inundate a whole city, whereas the residents of the city are unaware of that. 7. Paradox. A paradox is a statement that seems to contradict itself, yet it carries a profound truth. For example, trees, popularly thought to remove pollutants and improve urban life, may also increase the amount of foul air that people breathe, says the UK body, which gives independent health guidance to government. In this example, trees are renowned for being the lungs of Earth. They purify the air from carbon dioxide and enrich it with oxygen. Paradoxically, this statement points out that the trees are responsible for polluting the air city dwellers breathe, which sounds contradictory. However, with further research, one finds out that leaves and branches slow air currents, causing pollutants to settle and acting as sinks for chemicals that may have direct or indirect effects on air quality. Thus, air quality under trees may deteriorate at street level near vehicles. 8. Rhetorical question. Rhetorical question is posed to make a point rather than to be answered. Indeed, it helps the reader imagine the answer. Orators often use rhetorical questions to emphasize a point, criticize, and/or persuade. For example, what about all the other low-lying atolls in the Pacific? This rhetorical question requires no answer, for it emphasizes the dangers surrounding coral reefs in the Pacific as a result of man's heedless activities. It also urges people to take action before it is too late. 9. Analogy. Analogy, a form of reasoning, is a comparison in which two different ideas or things are compared because they share something in common. The atmosphere is a thin varnish coat that is being thickened with more and more emitted greenhouse gases, a coat which, instead of shielding us, is attacking us with climate change. The analogy employed here, in the form of an extended metaphor, draws a comparison between the thin layer of the atmosphere and the thin varnish coat, which is thickened, to show how discharged greenhouse gases are accumulating excessively in the atmosphere, bringing about drastic climate change. Figurative language adds freshness, meaning, and originality to a writer's style. Writers use it to draw a clear image in the reader's mind, especially when the idea is abstract. Satire and persuasion. Satire is the humorous or critical treatment of a subject in order to expose the subject's vices, follies, stupidities, and so forth. The intention of such satire is to reform by exposing the subject to comedy or ridicule. Following are the main techniques that may be invested in a satirical work. 1. Hyperbole. Hyperbole is the representation of something beyond normal bounds so that its faults can be clearly seen and openly mocked. 2. Understatement. Understatement is a method of making a weaker statement than is warranted by truth, accuracy, or importance, usually for ironic purposes. 3. Irony. Irony is the use of language to suggest the opposite of what is stated. Writers use irony to reveal unpleasant or troublesome realities that exist in life or to poke fun at human weaknesses and foolish attitudes. And 4. Sarcasm. Sarcasm is a joke conveying intentionally harsh irony, especially when the writer says the opposite of what he or she means in order to make a point or to belittle something or someone. In other words, it is a form of biting humor at another's expense. As a reader, developing awareness of the elements and the purpose of satire helps you analyze a satirical work with more critical thinking. As a writer, satirical techniques can help you make your points more clearly in your persuasive and argumentative writing.